AHA is an ensemble piece, which means that there's a large cast of characters. Many of them appear to be characters of the same dramatic weight. But specifically, in terms of the message of the film, that's carried by three characters, Angela, Tim, and Claire. And I had specific things that I was looking for in each one of those characters that really influenced the entire casting process. One of the things that we really wanted to focus on for the role of Angela was the loss of innocence, the kind of cost that the distant country exacts from you when you leave the father's house. And she goes from kind of a hard-working, scrappy, up-and-coming blue-collar type who's worked hard, valedictorian, on her way to med school, who loses everything and becomes a stripper and a drug addict. And one of the things that I wanted specifically from this role from the very beginning is that when you see Angela the very first time, you want to take care of her. Something in you, when you see her in the very first shot of the film, you go, "Aw." Because if I can elicit that sort of response just based on who this character is, that when she starts to take that distant country journey, when her innocence begins to crumble, it's going to affect the viewer in a much more personal way. Ultimately, Jade proved to be exactly what we needed. But there's a whole lot behind that as well, which is pretty important because the role of Angela is a lot more than an innocent face you need to take care of. There's quite a character journey, and her rock bottom is pretty deep. We had to find people who could really pull off the depth of that emotional journey, of losing everything, of being stripped of innocence, of ultimately becoming addicted to drugs, of doing exactly the kinds of things that initially you would never dream that you would do. And Jade, both in the audition and certainly in the filming, has proven herself as an actress capable of taking that journey over and over and over. So I couldn't be more thrilled. In the same way that I wanted Angela to have a very specific kind of look, I felt the same way for Tim. I wanted Tim to be really everybody's best friend. We see early on in the story his really true and genuine love for his wife. We work really hard to paint that as a very true and beautiful thing. It makes him a guy that we really care about. And also, we need to see with Tim his desire to build a great life for his wife and for his family. And initially, those are very virtuous things. He wants to work hard. He wants to move up in a company, not because he's greedy, but because he wants to provide for his beautiful wife, who he really, really cares about. And along the way, somehow, that gets poisoned. He does that. He provides for his wife, but he doesn't really know where providing ends and where materialism and self-indulgence and greed begin. They start off in such simple circumstances, and ultimately that virtue in Tim is completely poisoned by greed and by ambition. The distant country that he goes to is embezzlement, stealing from his company to try to essentially just have more. And that's the kind of journey that Tim, who plays Tim in AHA, demonstrated both through the audition and throughout the entire filming process, that he could really give depth and richness to. I'm not really sure how I'd say this, but Claire's journey is about really the lie of freedom. Claire essentially has everything that she could ever want. She has a very attentive and doting husband. She has a beautiful daughter. She just feels trapped by those things rather than brought to life by them. And she has come to a place where she has convinced herself that really what she just needs is freedom. So as I was looking at actresses for the role of Claire, one of the primary things that I was looking for was strength. From the very first time you see her, you realize this is a woman who has the strength to chuck it all and walk away. That if she has something that she wants, she's going to go after it, she's going to achieve it, and nothing's going to stand in her way. And I think that that's something that Jacqueline showed us from the very first audition. But at the same time, the journey for Claire is realizing, just like the prodigal son, that she really did have everything that she could ever want all along. So we need somebody who, despite that great strength, could be broken and could show what it looks like for somebody of such great will and such persistent strength. What does it look like for a person like that to ultimately realize that those virtues have been her downfall and to come crashing down? And that's something that Jacqueline, I think actually in scene after scene, brought to life for us in a really dramatic way.